Start.
A very warm welcome to all the dignitaries attending this summit. My name is Dr. Barnali Basu. I am senior resident in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology in Marwari Maternity Hospital, Guwahati. I'll be presenting my paper based on the patterns of myocardial tissue Doppler in intrauterine growth restriction. As we all know, intrauterine growth restriction is the inability of the fetus to achieve its full growth potential for its particular genetic capacity. This can be divided into two types. Type 1 is symmetrical IUGR, which is usually caused by aneuploidies or viral infections, which are usually cannot be cured through any intervention. While type 2 or asymmetrical IUGR is usually caused by factors which leads to chronic hypoxia, which can be maternal factors, placental factors, as well as the fetal factors. This chronic hypoxia leads to adaptive changes leading to complications in all the organs of the fetus, notably the heart. The adaptive mechanism of redistribution of the cardiac output leads to the probable development of cardiac diastolic dysfunction. Because of the cerebral redistribution, there is a difference in the afterload in the left ventricle, which decreases, while because of the pulmonary and systemic vasoconstriction, right ventricle afterload increases. This leads to further changes in the myocardial filling as well as myocardial function, leading to diastolic dysfunction in the myocardium itself. A new technique called myocardial tissue Doppler has been found in echocardiography, which detects myocardial tissue function directly. In case of vessel Doppler function, the Doppler filter usually filters off the movements of the blood RBCs in the blood vessels, which tend to be of low amplitude, high frequency. But tissue Doppler tends to filter the movements of the tissue of the heart, that is the myocardium, which tend to be low frequency and high amplitude. And so this has been found to be efficient in adults. It has been found efficient to diagnose cardiovascular disorders, hypertension, etc. And even in children. We are now trying to see if this technique is feasible in the fetuses, so that can it detect the growth restriction changes of myocardium much earlier than conventional vessel Doppler, which is usually used to make the intervention in case of growth restricted babies. The technique constitutes processing and analyzing the Doppler frequency shift generated by tissue movement, which includes measuring the myocardial velocity gradient, myocardial strain, and strain rate. It is of two forms. First is the spectral Doppler. This is a typical picture of a myocardial tissue Doppler. This has been taken at the level of the right ventricle. Tissue Doppler has been demonstrated by different studies to be feasible in fetal echo. Chan et al. Constructed reference charts for tissue Doppler indices of systolic and diastolic functions of the normal fetal heart and stated that the technique represents a more accurate assessment of diastolic function in utero than does evaluation of transmitral blood flow velocities. Emstead et al. Found with the use of tissue Doppler in fetal echo that E' and A', I'll be coming to that later, increased with gestational age, even though within larger intervals, through which a conclusion was made that cardiac muscle contractility in the human fetus decreases with gestational age. Comas et al. Now from coming on to fetal Doppler, we are coming on to trying fetal Doppler in normal fetuses to IUGR fetuses. Comas et al. Performing a study in 58 term appropriate for gestational age and small for gestational age fetuses by both conventional echocardiography and tissue Doppler imaging, found that the small for gestational age fetuses had differences from the appropriate for gestational age fetuses. They had a lower right E' and A' peak velocity and higher myocardial performance index values. While Nojorks et al. Found that there is presence of both systolic and diastolic cardiac dysfunction in IUGR, stating that so tissue Doppler index may constitute a more sensitive tool than conventional echocardiography. Same with Larson et al. who also found that there was, in fetuses with cerebroplacental distribution, the myocardial velocities were significantly lower, more prominently for atrial-dependent A prime velocities. Our objective of this study was similar to the different studies to carry out myocardial tissue Doppler in fetuses with intrauterine growth restriction and observe the different inferences. It was a prospective observational study for which patients, when attending the OPD of our hospital in the third trimester, were taken, and written and informed consent was obtained from all the patients. The patients were divided into two groups. The study group, who were the patients identified to be having intrauterine growth restriction with the help of ultrasonic measurements of the parameters of the fetus to diagnose fetus who were less than 10th percentile of the growth for their appropriate gestational age. While control group were patients with fetal growth corresponding for the gestational age. Only singleton pregnancies were taken for the study. So multiple gestation and fetuses found with cardiac anomalies were excluded. Using myocardial tissue Doppler, fetal echocardiography was also done on these patients. And the sampling, since we were doing spectral Doppler, which usually measures the myocardial velocity in comparison to the color Doppler, which measures strain rate. Since we were using spectral tissue Doppler, sampling was done at the level of basal part of the left ventricular free wall, right ventricular wall, and intraventricular septum. The variables which were measured using this was E prime, which is the mean peak velocity of the three early diastolic waves. A prime is the mean peak velocity of the three late diastolic or atrial filling waves. E prime is to A prime, the mean ratio between the two. And lastly was the myocardial performance index, which is calculated by the formula ICT plus IRT divided by ET. The ICT or isovolumetric contraction time indicates the time from closure of the mitral and tricuspid valves to the opening of the aortic and pulmonary valves. Ejection time is from the time of opening of the aortic and pulmonary valves to their closure, and isovolumic relaxation time is the time from the closing of the aortic and pulmonary valves to the opening of the myocardial and tricuspid valves. So this is the picture of a spectral myocardial tissue Doppler. The sampling, this is the E prime or the mean wave of the three early diastolic waves. A prime, the mean of the late diastolic waves. S prime is taken for systole, but we are not going to measure systole in our study. This is the level of the right ventricle. This is the intraventricular septum. I'm sorry, this one was left ventricle and this is right ventricle. This is the picture seen in color Doppler, but we are not used color Doppler for our study. We have used spectral tissue myocardial Doppler. Coming on to the demographic characteristics of our subjects, in our study, total 120 patients were taken, among which 62 patients were found to have intrauterine growth retardation and 58 had normal growth. We have compared the different demographic characteristics. As we can see that parity has no there is no significant difference in parity, which shows that parity doesn't influence the development of intrauterine growth restriction. Dating also, most of our patients had excellent dating. So the chance of falsely diagnosing somebody with intrauterine growth restriction was very much reduced. Significant difference was with preeclampsia. Most of our patients with intrauterine growth restriction had preeclampsia. This amounted to around 30%. And preeclampsia is often associated with intrauterine growth restriction. The same machine was used for all these patients, Sonoline Adara, using the frequency of 3.5 megahertz, and the same person has done all the tests, removing the chances of inter-observer variation. Now coming on to, we have used the independent t-test, but before that, the question may arise that different even the third trimester is divided into a whole phase from 28 weeks to 40 weeks. And the test was performed on the patients at different intervals, especially in IUGR patients, where on account of their need for early delivery, some patients were imaged at 28 weeks itself, some were imaged at 36 weeks. So the question arose that what if the increasing gestational age has also cause the change in the myocardial function. So we have done the ANOVA test here to compare the different parameters. Some of the parameters have been mentioned here at the intraventricular septum, left ventricle and right ventricle in the normal babies. They were divided into 3 groups depending on at which gestational age that imaging was done. The group A consists of babies from 28 to 32 weeks. This group B is from 32 to 36 weeks and group C were 36 to 40 weeks. But as we can see, there is no significant difference between these parameters, which shows that in third trimester, there is no change in the myocardial function with increasing gestational age. So the gestational age as a confounding factor has been ruled out. This is in the normal fetus. Now coming on to the main part of our study, when we compared the myocardial tissue Doppler variables with the normal growth fetuses with the help of independent t-tests, we have found that there is no significant difference if you look at the variables at the interventricular septum, although the values of IUGR fetuses are lesser in amount, which shows a global decrease in cardiac function, but the difference is not very significant when taken at the level of the interventricular septum. Same is seen when the variables were compared at the left ventricle level. However, when we compared the values at right ventricle, the late diastolic wave showed a significant reduction compared to the normal growth fetuses. As we all know that in the fetuses, the right side of the heart is more dominant and more functional than the left side, which indicates that when the hypoxia starts affecting the IUGR fetuses, this side of the heart being more in need of oxygen and nutrients would be also the first to be affected. And as we can see, the A prime wave, which is dependent on the atrial contraction, also being the more active component of the diastolic filling, hence it tends to require more oxygen and nutrients for its function, is also the first to be affected with the onset of hypoxia. And so it is the variable to be affected in case of more prominently in case of IUGR fetuses than normal growth fetuses. Now, we also have conducted conventional vessel Doppler in our IUGR babies. Conventional vessel Doppler uses the method of umbilical artery Doppler to check for if the baby has already developed cerebroplacental redistribution and would require immediate delivery or not. So in our case, we took the definition of cerebroplacental ratio less than 1, absent end diastolic flow in umbilical artery, or raised SD ratio as indicator of abnormal vessel Doppler in the babies. In the IUGR, among the 62 babies with IUGR in our study, 27 were found with abnormal vessel Doppler and 35 were found with normal vessel Doppler. However, when we compared the myocardial tissue Doppler findings among the IUGR babies with abnormal Doppler and the ones with normal Doppler, we found no significant changes. This could mean that even before the onset of changes in conventional vessel Doppler, already myocardial changes have started developing in the IUGR fetuses. But it also shows that myocardial tissue Doppler is not able to differentiate between the fetuses who require immediate intervention, like conventional vessel Doppler is able to. So we may not be able to use this technique for determining which fetus needs immediate intervention and which fetus can be managed with conservative management. We further wanted to see if the severity of IUGR also influences the myocardial function or not. So we divided the study subjects of our study into 3 categories based on their birth weight. Those with less than 1.5 kg birth weight were around 12. Birth weight of 1.5 to 2 kg, which were defined as moderate IUGR, were 28, and mild IUGR with birth weight of 2 to 2.5 kg were taken as 22. 2.5 kg was taken as cutoff for normal birth weight. When we compared the myocardial tissue Doppler in severe IUGR babies who had a birth weight of less than 1.5 kg with the normal growth babies, 2 values, that is the left ventricular E prime early diastolic wave and right ventricular myocardial performance index were significantly lower. When we compared the parameters of moderate IUGR, none of the variables, some are shown here, showed any significant difference from the normal growth babies. And when we went on to mild IUGR, we can see here that both left and right ventricular late diastolic velocity is significantly lower. This may indicate that, as we had discussed before, that in the atrial contraction phase of the diastole, being more active requires more oxygen nutrient. So when with the onset of chronic hypoxia, when the baby has started to develop mild IUGR, that time this phase is the first one to be affected, which is why in both the ventricles we can see the A prime or the atrial diastolic filling is the one significantly reduce the normal growth rates. But as the hypoxia progresses, the adaptive mechanisms in the baby kicks in by causing any changes in the afterload conditions, by causing vasodilatation, so that the blood flow to the brain is made, to the cerebrum or brain is maintained, because of which the myocardial function are able to come about in an equilibrium state, which is what we have seen in moderate IUGR, where the growth has further reduced, but there is no significant difference in the variables. But when the adaptive mechanisms are no longer able to bring about a balance, and finally they are not able to bring about a normalized state, then they start to fail. The baby has gone into severe IUGR, where the variables have been affected. Since right side of the heart is the more active portion of the heart, it is the global function of the right side of the heart is more affected. That is, the right myocardial performance index is affected here. In comparison, in the left side, only the early diastolic filling has started to affect. So we can see that in IUGR babies, the right side of the heart is already showing some kind of dysfunction. So summarizing our findings, as with increasing gestational age, there is no difference in the myocardial tissue Doppler values in the fetuses. So gestational age is not going to influence the myocardial function in the third trimester. Among all the IUGR babies taken, only the right ventricle A prime or late diastolic filling showed a significant difference, showing that the right ventricle or the right side of the heart is more affected in IUGR. In the severe IUGR babies, the right ventricular global function, which is defined by myocardial performance index, and left ventricular early diastolic wave showed us difference. That is, they were lower than the normal growth babies, and hence the right it again reaffirms our view that right side of the heart is more affected in IUGR, which is picked up by myocardial tissue Doppler. Among the mild IUGR babies, the right ventricular and the left ventricular diastolic wave showed difference, but not in moderate IUGR babies, where the adaptive mechanism have probably managed to bring down the myocardial functions to near normal. But when we tried to compare tissue Doppler among the IUGR babies with normal and abnormal vessel Doppler, we found no differences, which shows that myocardial tissue Doppler is still inferior to conventional vessel Doppler in detecting babies with more chance of perinatal morbidities and requiring immediate intervention. Some of the limitations of our study that we couldn't find very severe IUGR babies who had birth weight even less than 1 kg for this study, because those patients usually used to arrive with severe fetal distress requiring immediate intervention or delivery, for which as a result we were not able to image them. And cardiac troponin could not be collected. However, many times it has been found that cardiac troponin can cross the placental barrier, so it may not help in finding whether it may not be able to find able to confirm that IUGR babies definitely have increased cardiac troponin with their myocardial dysfunction. These babies were only followed up till their birth weight. These babies were not followed long term, which may show more myocardial changes or maybe reduction of myocardial changes with their growth in IUGR. To conclude, myocardial tissue Doppler shows subtle cardiac dysfunction in the IUGR babies in comparison to normal growth babies in the right ventricle, particularly in babies with severe IUGR. But we need further research to ascertain its utility in diagnosing cardiac dysfunction and perinatal complications in IUGR. Now, comparing this to the different other studies which have been done in this regard, when we compare our present study to the Nojork study here, as we can see, the Nojork study had a difference, had a reduction, significant measure of left ventricular E prime compared to, while in our study, we didn't find any difference in the left ventricular E prime or the early diastolic filling. The study concluded that significant difference was found between IUGR and normal growth fetuses with respect to left, right, and interventricular septum E prime A prime ratio, indicating a decrease in early diastolic dysfunction. But our study, we found the difference only in the left ventricular E prime and right ventricular NPI. So the babies they have taken in this study are all severe IUGR and abnormal vessel Doppler, but their sample size is too small compared to ours. Next, coming on to the COMAS study, which has almost comparable findings to ours, as can be seen. However, in our the difference was that our right ventricle myocardial performance index was lower in our study subjects, but in their case, it was higher. This could be explained probably due to ethnic or genetic differences. But like just like our study, they found lower right E prime and A prime in IUGR babies than the normal growth fetuses. Next, coming on to the Larson study, they had their findings showed all the variables of right ventricular E prime, left ventricular A prime, and right ventricular A prime lower than normal growth fetuses. But in our case, only the right ventricle was found affected. They concluded there was a tendency for lower E prime and A prime values in both ventricles, in contrast to normal growth babies. But again, in this study, they have a very small sample size. They have only taken 18 fetuses in contrast to ours, where 62 fetuses have been taken. Lastly, in a study conducted by Neward, Domska, Jarosik et al., E wave and E prime A prime ratio had significantly lower, while A prime isovolumetric relaxation time, deceleration, myocardial performance index, as well as E by A prime septal and E by E prime lateral indices were significantly higher compared to healthy peers. However, this study was performed in actually children who were diagnosed as IUGR in their fetal life, but the study subjects were children aged 5 to 11 years. Their study, however, also shows that myocardial dysfunction tends to persist in children who were IUGR in their fetal life. So, coming back to our conclusion, we conclude that myocardial tissue Doppler is a technique which is feasible to be performed in fetuses and can show cardiac dysfunction in fetuses with intrauterine growth retardation. But we require more studies since the studies present have varying findings to come to a definite conclusion about the cutoffs that can be used and the variables which should be compared to diagnose cardiac dysfunction in intrauterine growth retarded fetuses and help in early intervention to treat them. Thank you and have a good day. These are the references.